All right, so
Mhm,
welcome. My name is Katie Odisi. I was supposed to be doing this with my colleague Nancy, but she had to leave early today, so it's just
mhm.
me. And I'm happy to be with you this morning or this afternoon.
Okay.
And today we're going to be covering the topic of SEL in leadership. And I
Mhm,
know we have teachers on the call with us today, and that's totally fine.
mhm,
The things that I'm sharing today, hopefully you'll either be able to bring back to your school or to your district to kind of
mhm,
facilitate the larger conversations about how to get this momentum going in your own
mhm,
school or in your own district.
mhm.
And hopefully you walk away with some ideas of how to get those things started.
Certainly. Mhm,
So today's session, as well as any other session that's labeled with the TRLE um, acronym, it stands for
mhm,
Teaching in Remote and Hybrid Learning Environments.
mhm.
And New York State was awarded federal funds in order to support educators in due to the sudden shift that they needed to make
Mm.
in
Yes.
remote and hybrid learning.
Mhm,
So NASA BOCES has come together with other BOCES across New York State, and we have developed resources in order to support educators during this time. And so the
mhm,
role at NASA BOCES is to turnkey resources
mhm,
as part of this TRLE initiative. So,
mhm.
and all of these resources are housed on the website eteachny.org. So I
Great.
can drop that in the chat for you if you're interested in exploring that.
Terrific. Mhm,
Oh, sorry, eteachnewyork.org. And we are covering sessions on 6 topics, including
mhm,
students with disabilities,
mm,
families as partners, culturally responsive education,
mhm,
ELS, shifting to online learning, as well as today's session, which is part of the social emotional learning series.
mhm,
And all of these topics, we are doing 6 sessions for each of
mhm,
them. We're up to round 5 of these
mhm,
sessions, so there will be one additional session for each of these topics coming up in August. So please feel free to join us for any of those that you're interested
mhm,
in joining. They're completely free. You earn CTLE hours for attending.
mhm.
And, again, hopefully you'll walk away with some ideas to get ready for back to school.
Yeah.
And just to preface, kind of, these resources were developed in response to the need for remote and hybrid learning. We're
Mm.
hopeful that most educators will have an in-person experience this
Yes.
fall. I mean, you never
Yes.
know with the state of the world today.
Yeah.
But the things that we share in these sessions are kind of just general best practice. So it's
Mhm,
not just for remote and hybrid environments. So we're hopeful that you can, use whatever is shared in any of the environments that you
yes.
might find yourself in.
Mhm.
So that's just the disclaimer about these sessions, and then we can get started with today's topic.
Great.
So today's topic is, again, focusing on social emotional learning. It is really geared for administrators to
Mhm,
kind of see the ways that they can begin the implementation of a kind of school-wide or district-wide social
mhm,
emotional learning plan. One of the things that it can be done at the administrator's level or at the teacher level is coming together with a group of norms. This kind of
mm.
just sets the tone for your time.
Yes.
Ideally, it is best to build them as a teacher with your students or as
Mhm,
a group staff if you're working together to kind of come to those norms together. Just for the
mhm.
purposes of today, since we just met each other, these are kind of just general best
Right.
practices that we can follow to help us be productive together. So we
Mhm,
agree to proactively see and consider diverse voices, ideas, and
mhm,
perspectives, to embrace a mindset that promotes my own and others' learning, and to
mhm.
see opportunities to show gratitude and celebrate with colleagues. So
Yeah.
again, something like this, if we're trying to begin to implement social emotional learning, this is a great way to start, kind of taking a moment to set the intentions, to set the tone for the learning that's going to happen. And again, whether
Mhm,
that's amongst adults or whether that's amongst students, it can work for
mm.
for both environments. And I know we have a first grade teacher here, so obviously, get putting it in child friendly language, right, and working together as a class to talk through, what are the ways that we can support each other and support our learning and support
Mhm,
the group. And I know, Mary, you're 6th grade, so they can, have a little bit more kind of advanced
sure,
conversations, but
sure.
this is a great thing for the beginning of the year to set the
Mhm,
tone for your class. So our goal for today together is to develop strategies to enhance effective leadership by supporting school leaders to deepen their social and emotional competencies, which set the foundation for staff and student success. We're also going to participate in activities for school leadership that models good and best practices in SEL. So that's our goals for today. So to get started, we're going to do kind of a vision board, if you will. So I don't know if anybody's heard of a vision board, creating one before. Mary or Kristen, have you ever heard of anything like that? Okay, so so basically what it means is on a personal level, sometimes people will create, it could just be a bulletin board or a cork board. You can cut out pictures from magazines, and you kind of put on it the things that you wish for yourself. So whether that be, goals for maybe your professional life, your personal life, even putting pictures of vacations, things like that. It's kind of putting out there the things that you want for yourself. And then really by doing that, it helps you to set the intention, like, this is what I want. These are my goals. And then you can kind of work backwards and you can, put yourself on that pathway towards achieving those goals. So it's just being intentional, like really putting out there, this is what I want. Now that I know that's what I want, these are the things I need to do to get there.
Yes.
So we're going to kind of do that activity with social emotional learning. So I want you to imagine this little scenario for a minute, that it's the year 2025, you're traveling to New York City, you make a stop in Times Square, you see a copy of the New York Times, and on the cover you notice a big headline about your school or district and the positive effects of its SEL implementation. So what I want you to really think about, and we'll do this together as a group, we won't go in a breakout room because there's only 3 of us here. Think about when you think about social emotional learning, let's say your school jumps in, all in, every teacher's on board, the community is on board, you faithfully are, kind of sticking with the implementation of it, really supporting students, really supporting staff. What would you envision kind of the outcome of those efforts being? So that's really what I want us to think about now. And I'm going to put in the chat. Okay, Kristen, you haven't heard about that either. So I'm going to model for you what we're going to do together right now. So here's an example of a completed vision board that another district did working on this topic together. So this was an upstate district called Greece. It's just in upstate New York, and kind of they came together to do this activity as a whole district or as a whole school. And they came up with these kind of visions for what they hoped their district would be able to accomplish. So notice this cover story, Greece Central educates the whole child. And then if I come to another one here, U.S. News reports Greece, New York, the #1 town to live in as Greece Central School District becomes a community hub of equity, creativity, innovation, and inclusion. So these are just some examples. Greece Central named in the top 10 high schools of the country. Greece Central is named the best place to go to school. So again, just kind of thinking, what are your hopes for, if your school or your district were to implement social emotional learning? What do you hope that would look like in a few years? So I put in the chat for you, this is called a Jamboard. I don't know if either of you have experience with this. Basically, once you click on that link that I gave you in the chat, if you come over to the side here, there's a little Post-it note. So if you click on sticky note, here's where you can write something. So whatever you might, envision being, for the Diocese of Rockville Center or for your school or even for your class. So you could say something like, so let's say for my Nassau BOCES, I might say, students, so at Nassau BOCES, students and staff report feeling happier at school. So that could be one kind of cover story that I would hope for. So if we were dedicated to implementing SEL, that might be a positive outcome of that.
Okay.
I love it. So to feel empowered, they can learn with a few laughs. Very nice.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm very bad.
No, that's not bad.
No, it's like my tutoring gig over the summer. You have to have a couple laughs.
Of course you do.
Exactly. As long as you're the queen of the classroom and, you dictate what's appropriate and what's not, everything is fine. Well, a couple laughs, a little bit of learning, that's a good thing. That's so what I would think.
I
All right.
100% agree. And I think if we were, since we're discussing social emotional learning, that is,
Yes,
it's not just about, obviously you need to teach them the academics and they need
of
to,
course,
meet the
of course.
standards. But if the kids are not feeling comfortable and they're not feeling like you care about them, then, all that learning can go out the
Exactly.
window. You need to build that
Exactly.
relationship, and, through humor and laughing sometimes is the quickest way to
That's a
make
good thing.
connections with kids.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
just worked for like 14 years, so I'm
Oh,
going for that.
excellent. Excellent. So
Yeah.
something like this, again, could be done if on the principal's level, if they were
Mhm.
trying to implement something like this. It could even be done on the classroom level. Like, what
Sure.
are your hopes for our class by the time we get to the end of this year? What are your hopes as a classroom
Mhm.
community that that we can accomplish together,
Oh,
or the ways
it's
that
a
we can
big one.
support each other?
Kindness.
Excellent. Nice.
Kindness. It's spelled this completely. Kindness.
I love it. Thank you for adding these.
Certainly.
Wonderful.
Miss
So I
Katie,
think,
I found like with my tutoring students,
mhm.
and there's students that are in public school, they're not in the Catholic schools that I'm
Yeah.
used to. But my fifth and sixth graders, there's not like a lot of drama. But surprisingly, my first graders, there's so much drama. So I think it might be just how, it might be like just how, the personality of the class.
Yeah.
It's just, it depends. You've had some classes that are super easy and some that are
Mhm.
like, oh my God, what's happening
Mhm.
here? So I think, as a teacher, you gotta be strong. You gotta be a warrior. You gotta be a psychiatrist and
Oh,
you gotta
yeah.
be an
A
educator. Oh my
nurse.
God. They don't teach you that in Adelphi and Malloy. Believe me,
No,
they
they
should.
don't.
They
No.
should. But it's quite interesting. It's quite
But
interesting.
and I
And
think exactly what you're saying, all those
mhm,
roles that we need to play, it kind of ties in again. As a teacher, we're educating the whole child. Again, not just
yes.
their academic side. We're also
Hmm.
need to consider their social needs. Again, if they're having these
Yes.
conflicts in the class, drama, we need to figure
Yes.
out how to empower them to know, conflict resolution, or what do I do?
Yes.
This one says they're not my friend. We need to teach them
Oh,
age appropriate ways
yes.
to, to figure out how to
I
work through
know.
these problems. So
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
definitely part of the teaching world. And it's, you know,
Oh, yeah.
looking for that support of, what are the ways that I can support them through these types of situations.
Exactly. Because they need that. Depending upon the class, they really, really need that.
Oh yeah, and they all
Oh,
do. All have some children, and some classes need more support than others, but
yes, ma'am.
everybody can benefit from this. In the end, it's
Yes.
just showing that we care about all parts of a person, and
Hmm.
that, by strengthening and really focusing on all the parts of yourself, you're able to then
Yes.
be a stronger learner, be a more
Yes.
focused person in
Yes.
school.
Hmm. Very true. Very true.
Oh, I see Kristen her mic is not working, but she said, sorry, my microphone isn't working. I can definitely see where we both are coming from. My first graders last year, there was a lot of drama, and I was always wondering if it
Oh
was
my
because
God,
they
she
were
had
home
that
for
too.
half their
Oh my Lord.
kindergarten year. That, I'm sure, has a big, big, that coming out of COVID, the kids who were home, they didn't learn those basic social skills. So yeah, that's something really to consider as you are, looking ahead to next year. This would be a good time to really plan to put in the time to plan, how to work together as a group, how to
Yep.
communicate with each other, how to take turns. We take for granted those type of things, but especially
Hmm.
after this past year and a half,
Oh
I
my
think there's
God.
going to be the need for explicit teaching in those areas.
Yes, I agree.
Thanks
I
for
so
sharing,
agree.
Kristen. Okay, so to continue thinking about the
Hmm.
members of school leadership, they are responsible for helping to articulate the big idea of SEL to their entire school community, and
Hmm.
to supporting SEL as a priority. So, it obviously as a teacher, you have control over your classroom, and you can support this, topic and
Hmm.
initiative, and make an impact in your own room.
Hmm.
But for a principal or a superintendent, if it becomes a priority for them, then it can kind of set the tone for the entire district, and it
Yes.
can really have a larger impact.
Hmm.
So we're going to watch a brief video, and this just
Okay.
shares some of the ways that superintendents across the country, the things that they prioritized
Mm-hmm.
and promoted during COVID. So the SEL kind of things that they focused on. And hopefully
Okay.
you'll find some connections to the way that hopefully your leadership supported you and your students.
Hi everyone, I'm Justina Schlund, Director of Field Learning at Castle. We've been talking to district leaders around the country about how they're responding during this time, and I wanted to share 5 of the ways we're seeing superintendents promote SEL throughout the pandemic. Number 1, communicate about SEL widely, consistently, and boldly. Now, more than ever, our relationships and our social and emotional competencies are needed to take care of ourselves, our staff, our students, families, and communities. The silver lining to this pandemic may be the opportunity to sharpen our focus on SEL as a fundamental part of education. Number 2, take care of yourself and your staff. When we talk about the importance of SEL, this includes both children and adults. And in order to take care of our students right now and create the conditions that promote their social and emotional growth, adults themselves need to feel empowered, supported by one another, and valued. Which brings me to number 3. Prioritize relationships above all else. This includes relationships with your teams, with students, as well as with families and community partners. When we're physically apart, we have to find new ways to create the sense of community and interconnectedness that help us work together to problem solve and innovate during challenging times. Number 4, continue and build on existing SEL efforts. This might include adapting evidence-based SEL programs from in-person lessons to virtual platforms, or finding ways to integrate social emotional learning practices and community building exercises such as classroom meetings, reflection, and collaboration into academic lessons and other meeting times. Number 5, seek input from students, family members, and staff with an eye toward how your decisions impact equity and outcomes. The only way we're going to know if our efforts are helpful to our stakeholders is if we intentionally reach out and ask for feedback and partnership from those who are most impacted. We want to thank our district partners and their superintendents for sharing so many of their insights during this time. For additional resources on district-wide.
Okay, so I don't
Good.
know if either of you want to speak to, did you see any evidence from your leadership on any of these levels, especially during COVID?
I mean, my principal for my school, I mean, she tried and she succeeded truly because that's why we have so many students still in our school.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get the school together as a body to try to say that we're fighting this as one person.
Right, like as a school
And
family.
yes, as a school, exactly. Perfect example as a school family. And to incorporate, or I mean, I don't think we're going to have it next year, but don't quote me on this.
Mm-hmm.
But last year for the remote learning students, to incorporate them in, we've had, a couple little things like, a flag day thing or whatever.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was so beautiful.
Oh,
So
very nice.
patriotic. And we had the remote students
Join.
actually, yeah, they joined and they talked and they spoke. So, and the same thing for like the science and everything like that, with projects and things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my principal, and I can say her name if y'all want to do that, Mrs. Karen Durkin is amazing.
Oh, yay. Shout out to Miss Durkin.
Mrs. Durkin is wonderful.
That's great.
But it was, yeah, she worked her tushy off. Can I say that? I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Yes,
Don't quote me
of
on that.
course,
But
of
she did.
course.
She did. I'm trying to be nice. I'm not gonna say, but she did. She did.
Yeah.
So because everything with the school is about the children.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yep.
Everything. Because the parents care enough, and I'm going on the Catholic teacher route.
Yes.
The parents want and not that the public school is not quality. That's
Of course.
absolutely not. But they want a different education that they're paying a pirate's bounty for. And you know what? It's worth it. It's worth it one way or another. You sell your ring. Well, I'm not going to sell this one because it's like all diamonds, but sell your ring. Do what you got to do. What you all have to do. And I really think it's worth it.
Well,
I
that's
really do.
great. And I'm glad that you know, can speak to the support that you felt
Very much
from
so,
your
ma'am.
principal. And it
Very
sounds
much so.
like she was supportive of both the
Yes.
staff and the students. And
Very
that,
110%.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's such an
Yes, ma'am.
important thing because,
Yes.
you know, as
Yes.
again, if we're thinking of social emotional learning,
Mm,
it's
oh,
again creating this environment where people just feel supported. And if you
yes.
just are focusing on the students and then you turn around and you're not, you know, you're treating your
No.
staff like, you know, you don't care about them,
No.
then that's going to it's going to translate to just a not nice environment. So
Exactly. And you have worker burnout, you have everything.
exactly.
But that's not the case in Notre Dame. We're
Oh,
all
that's
like,
great. Great.
I'm very lucky.
That's
So,
great.
you
Oh,
know,
and Kristen's chiming in the chat. She said her principal was the same way. That's great. She tried to
awesome.
communicate with us as much as possible, especially with the
Yes.
last minute changes because of COVID. She
Mhm.
included everyone.
Yep.
I had a remote learner all year last year, and it was amazing how much she included that family into events throughout the year. It kept all the staff calm. Oh, I'm so
Yep.
happy. I'm so happy to hear that you both, you know, felt extremely supported during this experience.
Yes. We're lucky.
And I will say from my conversations with, you know, varied people in varied districts, for the most part, I think most people rose to the occasion and they
Yes.
realized that, you know, during this time, the most important thing was to promote a sense of calm and security and, you know,
Yes.
your family comes first, like, you know, that kind of thing for the adults and as well as
Sure.
for the kids and the families at home. Just providing an environment where, again, the academics were important, but you know, everything else is
Calm.
you know, making sure that
Yes.
your family is okay, that everybody is safe, that everybody is
Yes. Oh
healthy,
God, yeah.
that was you know, it seemed that most districts
Yes.
definitely followed that. So happy to hear that. Okay, so the leaders, they have their own set of standards. They're called the professional standards for educational leadership, PSEL. And really, if we're looking at the PSEL standards, so for any administrators, principals, APs above, they're kind of beholden to these standards. And in order to be an effective leader, you really do have to value and promote social emotional learning. So if you look at each of these standards, you could see how the two are very intertwined. So even looking at standard 5, as a leader, you need to create a community of care and support. The way that you create a community of care and support is by really showing and actively enacting ways to support students, families, you know, educators in your school or in your district, and that's all part of social emotional learning. You know, standard 8, meaningful engagement of families and communities, same idea. Part of social emotional learning is, again, connecting with families, showing families that you're working as a partnership, you know, being there to support them if their student is struggling, helping them figure out ways. So this all just shows you how, again, the idea of social emotional learning is, you know, connected to being an effective leader. So I'm going to share with you a couple really great resources. They are meant more for the administrator level, but it can also be beneficial for teachers as well. So there's this wonderful website called CASEL. CASEL stands for Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning. Basically, they have a ton of resources that are to help prepare educators on their journey to implementing social emotional learning. So I just put in the chat for you the access to this link from this picture here. This is kind of like a where do I begin a starting point. So it's meant for you to kind of reflect and look at the option, choose the option that best describes you. I'm a school leader that's just beginning, or even come down. I'm a teacher, counselor, or school staff member who is curious about school-wide SEL implementation. So that might be an area for you both to click on since you're here today. So let me just click on it. And then if you click on it, notice how it's going to link you to, and it's going to lead you to the places where you can kind of explore. So it's saying, you know, school-wide SEL implementation takes a committed school leader. You can view the how it works page and read focus area 1A. So it gives you kind of a path to kind of get yourself started. So that's kind of one space, and we're going to explore in a moment some more of the resources that they have. So this is an example of a district. This is El Paso. They took the resources from this Castle website, and this is kind of what it looks like for them. So this would be on the administrator's level. They're kind of mapping out a plan for their district or for their school. They did a year-long plan, and they're looking at, these are the things that we want to accomplish in this year. So this is what it could look like, you know, if you were mapping out the ways to accomplish this on the school or district-wide level. Again, on the teacher level, it could also just look like, you know, these are the things that I want to focus on related to SEL for this year. And, you know, give yourself a real map of beginning of the year. I want to, you know, build relationships. I want to get to know the students. I want to help give them explicit instruction on, you know, conflict resolution, that kind of stuff. You could come up with your own kind of map. But these three resources here, I want to give you a minute just to click around for on your own, just to see what the resources are. So the first one is the Castle District Resource Center. This one is meant for district administrators, and it provides them with a roadmap of, again, how to implement SEL in their district. So you can click around if you wanted to come here, how it works, or the district framework. It gives you a roadmap. You start with a support and plan. You strengthen the adult SEL in your building and in your district. Then you move on to promoting SEL for students. And then finally, you're reflecting on the data. So that's district resources. And then there's also school resources. So I'll drop this one in the chat. So this would be for like principals on the school level. Same thing up here, school-wide SEL process. And it follows a similar path. And then if you wanted to view the El Paso, their own, you know, just to see what does it actually look like in action. So this is this district kind of taking those Castle resources and then actually, you know, bringing them to life. So it just, it lays it out for you. What does it look like? And then even if we keep clicking through, there's a lot of nice checklists. So if you wanted to, if this is something that you wanted to bring back and have conversations with your leadership, these are tools that you could even bring to help support them as well. So take a minute. We won't spend too long, but just take a minute to click around. Even if you wanted to go back to that first place that I said, the where to start, even if you want to click over here as a teacher and, you know, click on one of these areas and just kind of see what they have. I'll just give you a minute. And then you can just let me know any thoughts before we move on.
Right. Source center. Let's see how this goes here. Katie, I'm having a hard time like clicking on the things. I'm like doing Castle District Resource Center and School Resource Center, but she's not opening.
Oh, really? I put it in the chat too.
Okay, then let me check that.
Try it from the chat. Sorry about that.
Thank you. No, don't be sorry about anything. That would be, thank you, ma'am. All right. Oh, it's been a long day. Here we go. All right.
And again, just take a minute because there's a ton of stuff there. You're just going to scratch the surface, but
this is great. Could be carried over for this school year. I mean, it'd be great.
For sure. And there's
Yes.
even more, again, this is more for the administrators, for them to kind
Sure.
of develop a strong plan, but there'll
Mm-hmm.
be some that are more, I have one resource in mind particular that I think will benefit both of you,
Mm-hmm.
that can be used for teachers. It's really just kind of like mini lesson plans that you can use that
Oh,
support
we love
social
those.
emotional. Yep. So we'll get to
Those
that
are
in a minute.
good. Now I can see. Awesome.
And just, based on these, where would you say that maybe your district or your school is? Like, is the district on the district level? Is SEL something that they're actively promoting and talking about, or even on your building level? So you see these different areas that I
Yeah.
noted here. Where would you say that your school is or your district is on this path to implementing SEL?
I would say like I don't know about all of DRVC, the Diocese of Rockville Center. But
Yeah,
I know with my school and personally, I think we're pretty strong on this
that's great.
because, again, just to say again, it's been a very crazy year and a half.
Yeah.
It's just, we're constantly promoting things for the students to do and to be engaged in like the school and the learning. But
Mm-hmm.
besides the learning, just to be happy and just to be, just to be, and it's
That's great.
again, I'm thinking about like last year, not this summer, but last year's summer, my principal had a great idea that she goes, let's do a summer camp for all our students because we were out for like 3 months.
Yes.
And that kind of brought them back in. And I had a lot of people in for science because they like astronomy. So we did astronomy, we did math.
Nice.
So I think even though it's as much as you can do, but
Mhm.
as long as you're doing it with a good heart, that's the amazing thing. So I cannot say for other schools. I'm sure my home parish, St. Aidan's, is doing amazing, but my school that I work at, Notre Dame, yeah, it's always promoting children to feel better about themselves and feel
That's
better
great.
about this crazy world, with appropriate
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of things that we do. Yeah,
That's
we try.
wonderful.
We didn't have the picnic at Christopher Morley Park, but we had the picnic at our schoolyard. It's just
Nice.
things to get them engaged so they feel part of a community and they feel strong and they feel safe. You just want them to be safe. Learning, but you want them to be safe. So, that's what we've done for the last year and a half. So hopefully
Mm-hmm.
it won't have to continue like that in the sense of like, everything will be normal. But if
Yes.
it is, yeah,
Yes.
we'll meet it. We'll meet it.
Yeah. But I'm glad to hear that it's been a priority for you. And I know
Of course.
Kristen is saying that I think that maybe there needs to be more in her building,
Perhaps.
less focus on the academics, and,
Perhaps.
more focus on the social emotional learning. So Kristen,
Mhm.
maybe
Yeah.
it could be something again within your building or within your district, to come together and even just to start promoting the idea of like a team, a social emotional
Yeah.
team where you guys can come together and
Mhm.
share resources and build the capacity of the teachers in
Yes.
the district. And again, even if that's not the possibility for you, you always have control over, your own classroom. So
Yes,
it can be
definitely.
a priority for
Definitely.
you. So um, hopefully it will become more of either a district priority or a building priority. But if
Mhm.
not, it can always,
Yes.
be one for you.
Mhm.
All right. So from an administrator standpoint, again, if they're looking to make this like a focus of the district or make this a focus of the school, they
Mhm.
have to make sure that they are communicating that with all of the stakeholders. So,
Yes.
kind of getting on a bullhorn and just putting it out there and saying, this is what we are going to put our energy into. And
Mhm.
the Castle, again, this is like they're the place to go to have. They have all these different resources. They
Mhm.
provide resources this link here, I'll just open it up to show you. They have it broken down into the different types of stakeholders. So instead of just thinking them as like parents, teachers, administrators, in the social emotional standpoint, they are viewing them as either implementers, so people who are actively carrying out plans for SEL, clients, those are the people who are like, receiving the benefits of SEL. Sustainers, those are the people who are, kind of long-term invested in the process. And then allies, people who may not be directly day-to-day contributing, but they, are by your side kind of cheering you on.
Yeah.
So this is something that could be edited again for an administrator to take notes on who are those groups in their buildings or in their district. And it has a breakdown here for you of what you should communicate with them, how you should communicate with them.
Right.
And so, for example, they have here that the implementers are the teachers and the administrators. Those are the people who day to day are kind of carrying this out. Who are the clients? Well, it's going to be your students, really, who are receiving the benefits of this, as well as their families. The sustainers being maybe the like guidance counselors or instructional coaches, people in the PTA, and then your allies. If you have like an after school program, YMCA, even the custodians, the cafeteria staff, the bus drivers, you need to get everybody on board to know that this is a priority in our school and in our district, and so that they can understand what their role can be like too.
Exactly.
Even the security guard at the front door, if they don't understand the importance of, promoting this idea of supporting the child, supporting the family. Sometimes, you walk into a building and you're greeted by a security guard who's not nice, or who, talks down to the kids or is dismissive to families, and then it can ruin the whole vibe.
Right.
So you need to get them on board too.
Kindness.
Exactly.
Yes.
So active, visible leadership support is crucial to successful implementation and long-term sustainability of SEL programming in a school. So really, ideally, we want to get our leaders on board. We want them to kind of be out there communicating the importance of this and making it a central priority. So again, this can be from an administrator standpoint, or again, even from a teacher's standpoint. You could even bring up the idea of creating an SEL team. So they have over here a document that helps you to figure out who could be part of a team. And again, it might even be the two of you. You might come together and say, you know what, let's go and talk to, let's talk to the district and let's let them know that we want to start building an SEL team. And this kind of breaks down for you who are the people that should be on a team with you. So here it has teachers. So it could be, again, people who are interested in this, people who think it's important. You need to have a team leader, and you'll need to have some sort of administrator to help kind of oversee the project, but then kind of seeking out who else, build upon who's in the building that this is an important topic for them. So this kind of breaks down for you, who you can look out for. And then you can kind of even take notes of who those people might be.
Sure. That's cool.
So school leadership works in collaboration with staff, students, and parents to nurture change and to be supportive throughout the process. So this is something that an administrator could give to, this is meant for staff. Now, the purpose of this is to start promoting the idea of adult social emotional learning. And it's really a way for administrators to understand their faculty, how their own social emotional learning. And it's broken down into different topics. So they have well-being, belonging, teacher self-reflecting, professional learning about SEL, the school climate. So it could be an administrator just trying to check in and see, does everybody feel supported there? Does everybody here feel, connected? Am I doing my job as an administrator to make them feel supported? So it has here a bunch of different questions that, again, an administrator could create a survey that they could give to their staff. And this could be done at the beginning of trying to begin the talks of SEL, or it could be done a couple times a year just as a check-in. I want to see how my staff are doing. How are they feeling? How are they doing? So it has, a bunch of different questions here: belonging, teacher self-reflection. So again, these are all meant for administrators to just do some check-ins of their staff. So school leadership should model the social and emotional competencies they expect students to learn and teachers to teach. So as a leader, they should be out there actively modeling the things that they want to see their teachers doing and the things that they in turn want to see their students doing. And then on the classroom level, of course, you also you have to model the ways that you expect students to behave and the way that you expect them to communicate with each other. And it can happen in little ways, even just kids are always watching, even just the ways that you might communicate with, a colleague in the hallway, if you're stopping and chatting with them, or, an aide is coming in the room to deliver those little moments. Kids are always watching. So we always want to make sure that we are modeling, the ways to effectively communicate, the ways to problem solve. We want to make sure that we're always communicating that. So this is the tool that I think you will, both of you will get some benefit out of. This is the 3 signature practices. I'll put this in the chat for you. Basically, this is meant as a guidebook. It has a bunch of little kind of mini lessons of how you can begin to model and practice SEL in your kind of day-to-day life. So, and I'm going to go back to that link in a moment. But basically, on the adult level, we could use signature practices when we are having group meetings, when we're having faculty meetings, when we're having grade team meetings, and it can also be done and should be done with our students. So the 3 signature practices, the purpose of them is to make sure that everyone's able to share their voice, make sure that everybody feels included, and that we're working together as a group, right? So like we said before, a school family, we're all contributing, for the good of the group. So the 3 signature practices are basically opening each class, meeting, or professional learning experience with a welcoming inclusion activity, a routine, or a ritual. And this can look a lot of different ways. Sometimes that just might be standing at the door and greeting each person by their name. It might be every morning doing a morning circle. I know that the younger grades will often do that. You'll come to the rug, you'll sit together, take a few minutes to kind of connect with each other. You could come up with your own routine, but basically it's just establishing we're a community, we care about each other, we're taking the time to connect. The next engaging strategy, or I'm sorry, the next signature practice is called engaging strategies. And this just promotes the idea of getting everybody to be able to share in the learning. So not just, always calling on the same one student who's raising their hand, making sure that you're providing opportunities for all of your students to participate. Or if you're in a faculty or a group meeting, that all of the people in the room are able to share their voice. So there's lots of different ways to do that. And I'll show you some examples in a minute. And then the last one is having an optimistic closure. That does not mean that, as you see here, it's not always a cheery ending. It doesn't mean like we always have to say, I loved everything that I did in this lesson. Instead, it's just kind of highlighting the work that they did. It could even just be what was hard for me, during today's lesson. Just giving people the time to kind of have a little closure and to reflect on the work that was done. It could even be, it was hard, but, I worked through it, or I was really tired today, but I showed up and I did my best. So just kind of marking the end of a time that you have together and giving time for people to reflect. So they have a couple examples here of, again, the opening routines. They have some examples here of engaging strategies like think, pair, share, clock partners, brain breaks, and then here for optimistic closures, 1-minute accolades. So taking a minute to, kind of champion students or things that you saw, something I learned today, I'm curious about, I'm looking forward to tomorrow because, and if you scroll down, there's even more. I just want to show you where these, where they have the examples. So I'm scrolling. So here we go. So on page 11 of this PDF, this begins all the examples of the welcoming and inclusion activities that there are. And it tells you this is how long it's expected to take. So if you wanted to do the activity of 4 corners, it'll take about 5 to 7 minutes. And it gives you the steps. Okay, so it shows you exactly how to do it. The next one, greeting frenzy, 3 minutes. Steps, explain. You have 2 minutes. Within that time, your job is to introduce yourself, greet everybody in the room by name, and make some brief physical contact. It could be a handshake, a high five. So it gives you some really nice examples. And I know as teachers, we're always looking for new kind of games to do with our kids and new ways to get them connected to each other. And, you know, any of these, if you did have to do it with remote students, it can be adapted, you know, over Zoom to do it that way too. And some of these, you know, might not be one that you do every day, but it could be you kind of have in your back pocket if you know that your group needs to connect, you know, if they're feeling, if they're, if they're needing to have that intentional time to connect with each other again, you might pull one of these out. So those are all the, and if you just keep scrolling, they have a lot of those welcoming and inclusion activities, and they're really just mini lesson plans. And then here's the engaging strategies. So these are during a lesson, they're ways that you can kind of make sure that everybody's able to participate and make sure that everybody's able to kind of actively be a part of the learning. So hopefully I would save that one because this is a really good one. And I like that it's just things that you can actually do like right away. So here's just some other examples for the leader's perspective. This has like principles, strategies, same kind of examples as the welcoming and inclusion ones in the signature practices playbook, but this one, is really meant for principals. So things that they can do to get the group together, to get everybody connected as they're working for a faculty meeting. So these are just some examples. And some of them are the same.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but can you send that beautiful presentation you just had to the teachers? Can you like email that to us? Because that would be awesome. Is there any way? Because I was trying to copy and paste it, but I didn't want to like lose the meeting or something like that with the things you had in the chat. Is there any way you could send it to us?
I could. Give me your email.
That'd be awesome.
Give me your email right now. I'll just put it in.
Okay, you ready? Here we go.
Go ahead.
It's all like lowercase. MNISH. You good? 7211 at ndsnet.org. Okay, got it. Good.
Is that right?
Let me check. I gotta get my
MNISH 7211 at
That's me. That would be awesome. Because I'm going to share it with all my friends at work.
Oh, good. And Kristen, if you want it too, just drop your email in the chat. I'll wait a minute before I send that, and then I'll send it.
Thank you so much. I'm going to.
Good
lady. I'm going to put that in. Too. Right. That's great. Thank you so much.
No worries. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad because this is a good tool for teachers.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's amazing.
And they're called the 3 signature practices. Yeah, and again, this is just a great way to kind of, actively put SEL as a part of your daily, daily life.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to skip this one. I know we're getting to the end. So the leader must be an advocate and visible and vocal supporter of SEL, particularly to staff and parents, in order to generate and maintain enthusiasm. So there's 2 kind of ideas here. The first one is from the administrator's perspective, the importance of taking time to connect with staff. So this idea of 5-minute chats where they every day and it could even just be having your roster, making sure you connect every day with one of your staff members and not doing an observation, just kind of checking in. How are you? What's going on? How can I help you? Just kind of a check-in. And then that'll just help to build the relationship, build that level of trust. And it's just something that could be a great habit for principals, again, to show the adults that they care. And the same can be said for students. So this, I'll drop this in the chat for you all because this is 5-minute chats with students. So
Yes.
think about if you had your roster of students and every day you made it a point to every day check it off. Today, Mary, it's your turn. You and I, we're going to sit, we're going to spend 5 minutes together and just asking them about, about their life, showing them that they care. And that if you did it in that intentional way, here's my roster, check it off every day, you wouldn't miss anybody. And then
that's very important.
and think about how excited the kids love spending one-on-one time with their teachers. It shows you that they feel that they care. It's special moments that they can have with you, and it can do wonders for, talk about you have kids with behavior problems. Most of the time, social emotional, giving them that one-on-one time, giving them that support, showing them that you care about them, it will really, really positively impact them.
Yeah.
This is something to consider implementing with kids as well.
Very nice. Yeah.
Oh, let me come back here. Additional opportunities, and these again are meant for administrators, but can also work for in the classroom. So just again, that idea of check-ins, that's kind of the 5-minute chats with kids. Again, a check-in calendar, but I would say for you, just having like a roster, even a printout of your class and just kind of checking it off. Verbal appreciation for time. So it could even be just, thanking your kids, thanking your families, thanking colleagues. People love to know when they feel appreciated, and we need to spread that appreciation often and vocally. Notice things that are happening that are going well. Show staff that you value their perspectives, and students and families and each other, colleagues. So just these little ways are ways that we can just, exactly. The little things are the big things. Something
Beautiful.
like this is also really nice. If you wanted to come up with a kind of classroom pledge. So this is an example of a pledge.
That's great.
And you could come up with your own, same like we said in the beginning for norms, but by really saying the words, and so I won't play the whole thing, but this this is another BOCES that they got all the staff to come together to make a video of their pledge, and think about how that impact of just, I'm putting it out there. We're coming together as a community, and we are saying, that this is what we are going to be focusing on. This is what's important to us.
That's great.
And even if you did this with your class, again, like this is our class pledge. This is what we care about, and doing it together, it can have a big impact. So just to show you what it looks like.
Can you send that to me too? Because that would be awesome.
Pledge?
That would. Yeah, I'm gonna, like, as every good teacher, you always borrow your colleagues' stuff. So I'm gonna borrow that. Or like you share it on Facebook. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I, Lauren Then.
I, Paula Oblansky.
I, Becky Bowers.
I, Susan Pollard.
I'm gonna skip past the people.
Own emotions. Biases to understand
how they impact the way I interact with others.
I will create spaces for others to explore their emotions, strengths, assets,
and how they can be channeled to serve collective well-being.
I will listen to young people, elders, and those who are different from me.
I will work to build meaningful relationships
so that I can better understand others' perspectives, experiences, cultures, and stories.
I will create inclusive environments where everyone feels a sense of belonging
and where young people find purpose and passion.
I will work alongside others to identify and dismantle inequities,
stand up to injustice, and use our collective voice and power to create spaces where everyone thrives.
So I won't play the whole thing, but you can see it's like it gives you goosebumps just watching
it
people
does
come together and just make this pledge, make this commitment.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great.
All right. So we are almost at the end, but I just wanted to take a minute now, either in the chat or on mute, whatever you prefer. And I know, Kristen, you're having problems with your microphone. Just now that we've had this conversation together and we've looked at some of these resources for yourself, what do you think will be a starting point for you to begin to expand upon SEL, either in your district, your school, or in at the classroom level for yourself? So what's kind of a goal for yourself to make it a priority? So however you prefer to respond to this. And this is an example of an optimistic closure. So this is one of those 3 signature practices. We're reflecting together, right? Taking the time to think through, you know, our learning that we just did together.
Right English.
That's great, Mary.
You know, I thought it's better to like to put it on paper, not to put it out orally in case there's something heavyweight
Yep.
that they would like to discuss.
Yep, that's great. And then
You know,
it can
just to keep
also,
it,
and then if you see that it could help with your one-on-one follow-ups with them, you
Yes.
know, if
Oh,
you see a
yes.
student write something heavy or, you
Yes.
know, then
Yeah.
you know, let me follow up with this kid and have a personal,
Exactly.
private conversation. Yeah.
Exactly. Which, you know, as a teacher and as an educator, like I said, we're psychiatrists too. So I mean, God knows,
Yes,
it's like, yeah, it's,
I love it.
I think I would start out like that. Let me see.
That's a great starting point. And Kristen added that she's
Mhm.
going to try to bring SEL more into her school and
Mhm.
focus more not
Yes.
just on academics, but how situations make the students
Yes.
feel. She focuses a
Yes.
lot on making the students comfortable walking into her classroom, having them
Yes.
want to come to school instead of just making
Yes.
it something they need to do. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to
Yeah.
create an environment where they are looking forward to, you know, being with their friends, being with you as
Mhm.
a family, as a classroom family.
It's a family.
And exactly. And the only way that we can accomplish that is by showing that we care more than what they get on a test, more than, you know,
Oh, yes.
whether they're getting all of the lessons that we're teaching them. We care about who they are as a person, and we care about growing, again,
Yes.
all of those skills, you know, friendship skills, you know,
Mhm.
all of those other elements of themselves, and even just being proud of themselves and
Yes.
figuring out what
Yes.
makes them special. And
Mhm.
those are all of the things that we want to help promote
Yes.
in our kids.
Yes, very true. Very true. Very true.
Well, ladies, it's been so nice spending time with you this afternoon, and I appreciate you
Thank you.
taking the time and sharing and participating. And it was really nice spending time with you. I'm going to put my
Same
email
here.
in the chat, and I did email both of you, so just write to
Great.
me
Thank you.
if you
Thank you.
need anything, or if you're you know, wanting any resources or extra support. I'm happy
Terrific.
to help. All right.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely afternoon, the rest of your summer.
You too. Oh, I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm doing the other one
But at 10 o'clock. So
I'll see you in the morning. Yes.
In the morning, I'm gonna like rearrange that thing of my lesson plan. Oh my God.
Yeah. Make sure that you